Come on in, guys, because it's time for another episode of Outwatch, a Survivor Rewatch podcast. My name's Alex, and we have been all season long going through Survivor Cagayan, Survivor's 28th season, an episode at a time, and reacting to the many goings-on of each episode. I am a big Survivor fan, seen them all, super-duper fan, if you will, and I'm joined by three of my friends who are just new to the whole Survivor thing. So you will be receiving takes from various perspectives. You've joined us for the 11th episode of Survivor Cagayan. We're deep into this one, only a few left before our live finale episode. Before we get into the depth of this particularly wonderful episode, why don't you meet the folks that are going on this journey with us? One of the high points of this episode was at the reward challenge. We got one of those classic Survivor ambassador situations where the winners got to go to a school and give school supplies and perform for the children. And so that got me thinking, y'all, what would be the thing that you would do if you were called upon to perform for children at a school in Cagayan? Adam, welcome to Outwatch.
I always love being in Outwatch. At Outwatch.
Yeah.
Is Outwatch a destination?
It can be.
Okay.
Hey, how would you perform for groups of children?
It's a really good question. I'd probably juggle. I'm a pretty avid juggler.
All right.
That's pretty much it. That's my wheelhouse right there.
All right. Juggling it is. I hope they love juggling.
Let's say they could hate juggling.
Maybe. I think they would just be pleased that there's someone there and there's television cameras. But Emily, welcome to Outwatch.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Hey, same question. How would you perform for these children?
Yeah, I'm really bad with kids. I'm not very fun. So I think I'd probably sing because I like to do that.
Okay.
And kids usually like to sing. So I'd try and get them to sing with me.
What song would you sing?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, probably Frozen. Everyone knows that.
How would you overcome this language barrier?
Yeah.
I bet they would know Let It Go.
Music knows no languages.
Exactly.
Hey,
Or they could teach me some songs.
And that fourth voice you've heard comes from our fourth podcast host, Scott. Welcome to Outwatch.
Hey-o, how's it going?
So fantastic. Scott, same question. How would you perform for these children?
Well, I would probably just lead them in like a round of like some calisthenics or like some sports or something.
Yeah.
For lack of knowing how to do much else.
Scott, that's a valuable skill. Don't downplay it.
Nothing's better than the gift of physical education. So.
Indeed.
I hope I earned some major man points today.
All right. Well, as we said, this is episode 11 of Survivor Cagayan, titled Havoc to Wreak. And before we start to react to the bits of this episode, let's go and take a trip down to Tree Mail and talk through what happened moment by moment in this episode. We join our tribe after they returned from tribal council when Jeffra was just blindsided and voted out. Trish is cool immediately with that move and Tony's decision to blindside her on it, but Cass is not. She begins to get pretty ornery about it. Cass later mishears Tony talking at camp. She believes that he is talking smack about her, but really they're just shooting the poop. And Tony gets Cass gets real angry about that. During this argument with Cass, Tony does let it slip that he has his special idol, and now it is open information, his special idol. So at the reward challenge, Spencer, Cass, and Wu win this one and win the chance, as we've said, to be Survivor ambassadors. Goes to a local school and gives some sporting supplies, some school supplies. And in the midst of the fun, Cass pitches a plan to split the votes on Tony to both Wu and Spencer. Wu is really not into it. judging by his facial reactions and general lack of reaction in general. But then on the way back to camp, he suddenly heel turns and tells Cass and Spencer that he is in to vote Tony out. Tony confronts Wu about this, suspecting that the game was afoot at the reward, and he lies straight to his face. Tony does really not buy this lie. At the immunity challenge, it's a counting one, and Spencer wins that. He's the superior counter. And then back at camp, the mastermind of this alleged plan, Cass, begins to rethink this opportunity and starts to have doubts about her own plan and thinks, Tony's been a big jerk. I think I could actually beat him at the end. And because of that, the votes shift. No idols are played, and Tasha is voted out with a vote of 4-1 to 1. Both Wu and Cass flipped back on Spencer and Tasha. Spencer and Tasha vote incorrectly, and Tasha becomes the next person voted out of Survivor Cagayan, having played a really great game. An under the radar, a from behind one, but one of the power players in this season is gone. Adam, as the holder of Tasha on your fantasy team, why don't you give us a brief in memoriam for Tasha's game?
Tasha may have been the most talented survivor out there in this season.
Wow.
She was fighting from the bottom the whole time. 3 back-to-back challenge wins.
Yeah.
Should have had 4 there, just couldn't quite count.
Counting
as well, Spencer.
Counting is tough.
Yeah.
It's it can be very difficult at times. I have enjoyed having Tasha on my team. I'm a little disappointed she actually went out like this. She's a better player than this, I think.
Yeah, you got the sense that like the plan that Cass and co had put together, it's like, oh snap, it's happening. Like this is going to be the time. And then the fact that it was Cass who came up with the plan, that she was the one who backed down on it, was a really kind of surprising thing, I thought. And as Tasha, you've got to assume all right, if they're going for this, it's probably going to happen. It's not going to be I don't know, pulled out from under us, but it was nonetheless.
Yeah, she trusted Cass again. The thing is, there's not a lot. There's not much more she could have done, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Wu obviously wasn't on their side, but if Cass wasn't going to be on their team, then Cass wasn't going to be on their team. It's just the way it was.
Yeah. So after all this, one brain stabs another brain in the back, and we are down to just 6. Or was that 6?
That was 6. We're down to 5.
Yeah, we're down to 5. I should be a better host.
Woo, final 5. Yeah, final 5.
Top 5, baby. Top 5, baby. Top 5.
So you would not be the best counter then, Alex?
Yeah, definitely would not do good at the counting challenge.
That challenge took 25 minutes.
Yeah, dude.
That's a lot of counting, man.
Dude,
they've been on the island 30 days, 33 days.
A long time.
Something like that. I can't imagine. That challenge looked exhausting.
Yeah, I would still be out there.
Yeah, I was thinking as this was running how frustrating this would be. It's like you run out there, you got to run, God, I don't know, 1/8 of a mile or something. Not a lot, but a little bit in the sand out here. You count a bunch of stuff, and then you run back, and it's like you're wrong.
It's not even like you're that hydrated to begin with.
Yeah. And I would just get so frustrated of how am I wrong? I know how to count. Yeah. I've counted this stuff 20 times.
And Jeff said that Tasha was off by 1 point on one number on the bamboo or something, the whole time. She just couldn't get one thing.
So rough.
So frustrating.
Yeah. That was just in a season that has had some pretty okay challenges thus far. I've only really hated on a few of them, I think. This one was honestly really good in my opinion. It wasn't that entertaining to watch, but it was a really good challenge.
How do you figure?
Well, So they've been out there for 30, 33 days, however long it's been at this point. And this is an endurance and a brain challenge, which are actually the only two people left, Brawn and Brains. So really they looked at the demographic and they were like, well, we got Brawn and Brains. Let's see which one has
How would you do
outlasted.
a challenge with beauty?
I don't know. The old contest.
He just made a model face.
Yeah, I did, which is great for our audio medium.
Yes.
But it was a long challenge, but I mean, it required a lot of the people, and it wasn't like a puzzle where it's just like you had to be good at puzzles to, complete this and be ahead. It was like everyone pretty much had a shot. Like Wu is the fastest one out there. Spencer is decently athletic and relatively smart, and it's counting. It's not like anything particularly challenging, except that you've not been eating well for 30 days. I feel like it was a good challenge in terms of like everyone's pretty much on equal footing.
Yeah, everybody should have a pretty equal ability to count things as adults.
Yeah, I felt good about the challenge. It was not entertaining to watch.
No.
Anyway.
I'm happy they time lapsed much of it.
Yep.
Scott, what was your favorite moment of this episode?
Oh, again, there's just so many to count. I was honestly like a pretty big fan of like the reward challenge. Yeah, because like you just got to throw sandbags at a wall. I don't know. I just think it'd be fun.
Dude, okay, so we, for, again, our amateur Survivor production, we tried this one. We did it. So for you who have not watched this episode recently, this is the challenge where there's two puzzles, and they're like a big wall, and each tribe throws sandbags at the other tribe's puzzle, and then once one of them falls, they both go and try and solve it. The advantage towards the person or the team that knocked the other tribe's puzzle down, because theoretically your puzzle would still be partially completed, right? Anyway, we ran this one, and this was like the one time where we just like stood out there for an hour because they could not solve the freaking puzzle. And we used it was it was really, really rough. I think it was because like the puzzle wasn't that complex. It was similarly kind of like a tiki guy, but they just like missed a couple details over and over again. And it was windy, and we used like cardboard boxes, so like that blew over a couple times. Yeah, this was the worst one we did for sure.
Yep. Spencer came back from behind like hardcore though.
He worked with his team well.
Yeah, that's true. They like Cass was kind of calling it out, and he was moving them.
Yeah. Also, I just really liked the reward. I thought it was cool. Like we haven't seen that yet in our brief rewatching of Survivor.
True.
And it was good to kind of give back as opposed to just being rewarded. You're being rewarded by helping others. So that's always good.
Giving to others is the greatest gift there is.
Also, hot dogs and hamburgers.
Hot dogs too. Emily, do you have a favorite moment this episode?
Yes, it was Wu doing karate for the kids.
Yeah, that was fun.
It's pretty good.
They were passing out backpacks to these kids, and then they had basketballs, and Wu's like, whoa, basketball. And then he starts doing all these tricks. And I was like, where did this come from? And then he gets on like a stage out of nowhere, and he starts doing backflips. I was like, he was made for this challenge or for this reward.
Yeah, Wu was great, especially juxtaposed with Spencer, who was like, I'll be the first to tell you that I hate kids.
Yeah.
Just calling it like I see it.
It was funny, too, how Cass was like, wow, Wu, it's so great to finally see your personality. It's like low-key pretty shady right there.
It was also like, have you not talked to Wu at all? Like, he seems like he's been just having a great time.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what.
Until you start talking strategy with him.
I have a theory that he is being edited in a way that makes him appear less strategic than he is.
It's probably true.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Because I feel like he has this listening face, and that listening face is like, it's this intent, like I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm thinking about it. And it always gets put up on the screen when he's supposed to be responding to something. And so it just makes him look like he's not saying anything, or, he's just not, he could just, not be very great at, hurting people, which, I mean,
yeah,
God bless Wu for that. Right. But yeah, I have a theory that he's being edited to look a little bit dumber than he actually is.
It's probably exaggerated for sure. I thought it was funny how it's like whenever they finish talking to him and then they're like, what do you think, Wu? You get the like long, deep in thought, which I like. I believe he is, it probably better in Survivor to just agree and then actually think about it later so that you don't raise their alarms. But it was funny. I recorded this soundbite. This was Spencer talking as Wu.
Yeah, something to consider, right?
Which I think will have some use here when we get especially spicy takes.
Yeah, something to consider, right?
I love this spicy takes.
Right up there with the cool one as far as the complete apathy.
This isn't fun.
Not fun at all.
And when I say that all the time now.
Love that.
That is our go-to thing.
This isn't fun. I'm not having fun right now.
Not having fun right now.
All right, one of the big storylines of this episode was Cass and how she is really actively creating chaos. Sometimes Chaos Cass, that's what they call her. Sometimes it works out for her, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes she goes back on her chaos and creates more chaos out of it. Emily, when you look at Cass's game, what do you think are the ups and downs as a Survivor player to playing the way that Cass does?
I respect that Cass is willing to shake things up. We're seeing a lot of people who are just going with Tony and doing whatever he wants. And I don't think that's going to serve them very well. So I respect that she's willing to look, take a step back and be like, well, now would be a good time to change things up. However, I don't always follow why she does the exact things that she does, because she was trying to make an alliance with Wu and like get him to break with Tony, which was great. And then she just flipped on that. And I don't know if we really got a good, I guess she said she thought that she could win over Tony, but I don't know. I just don't feel like that was very smart, because you have to get from now to the end still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So sometimes she just does things that I don't quite see the logic in.
Yeah. Unless I missed something, that was the logic that she gave as far as switching back to not voting out Tony, is this realization that, wait, I can beat Tony at the end. There's no need to take him out.
She's just constantly saying, everyone's going with Tony and he's just getting whatever he wants. I think this is the episode where she calls him a mafia boss or something.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you think that you're going to, get to the end with him completely in charge of this game, never challenging him at all? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like her play style, which is very like stir things up, cause chaos, cause conflict, probably has definitely short-term merits in that it, like, especially where she's at, which is consistently kind of on the lower end of things as far as control. By doing what she's doing, she creates confusion and chaos is a ladder, as Peter Baelish would say.
He's an ESPN guy, right?
Yeah, the ESPN broadcaster, and also master of whispers in Westeros for a time being. But yeah, like it can create short-term gain in that it gets like the target off of you or causes like dissent among alliances or whatever. But I don't know, playing that sort of game, I don't know how many friends it gets you, and I don't know how many people view it positively when you get deep.
I think part of the problem with it is it's a decent play style if there are more people, because as it stands right now, the chaos that she's causing is among 5 people, 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not, there aren't enough people there for someone to kind of sidle up next to her and be like, hey, I'm on your side. Like low key, I'm on your side here. You just need to get the other people on your side. You know, or I can help you try to find someone else to be on your side here. And just like someone who's going to use her as like, you're my sacrificial lamb. You're going to cause chaos. And when you have to go, you're going to go. But until then, I'm going to use you.
Yeah.
And like, that's like a valid way to play the game where, and if you are aware that this person's using you that way, then you can, you know, plan for it. But she's just so late in the game to be playing this way that she's just causing disruption with no real end goal. I agree. I just don't really see the point.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what it does?
What does it do?
It gives her 0% chance to win the game.
Oh, Spencer the Savant. Yeah, like it seemed like she had the plan. The plan was going to work. It seemed like, right? It seemed like Wu was in, and that he only switched back when Cass said like the plan's off, you know? Yeah. So I like theoretically, if her plan is and her objective is get Tony out, it looked like it would have worked. I would venture to say that Tony probably would have played an idol. I trust his gut as far as his like sense of when things are up, and I think he would have sniffed it out. But I think they would have completed the vote split and flushed one of his idols, and like completed the plan. But she backed down on it.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. I think she just doesn't have a clear idea of what she actually wants. And she feels like as long as there's chaos, no one can really reign. And that's really all she's trying to avoid.
And she doesn't really have enough power to really control it, I guess. You know, now that I think about it. You know, that's just her Hail Mary strategy.
The Hail Mary.
And honestly, had they tried to get Tony out, because we were talking about this, like, yeah, Tony probably would have played his idol, and what would have happened.
Yeah, let's talk about this plan of theirs for a minute.
Yeah,
because there's 6 people. Tony and Trish are voting for Tasha.
Right.
Spencer and Wu are voting for Tony.
Right.
And Cass and
Trish.
Tasha. Are voting for Trish.
Yep.
So there's a 3-way tie.
So this is their plan, is that if all goes according to plan, right? Yeah, you're right. 3-way tie, but Tony plays an idol. Okay, there's 2 ways it goes, right? If Tony plays an idol, it's a 2-way tie. And then now the 4 of them that split votes on Trish and Tony, one of them won't be able to vote because one of them is Tasha, but the other 3 of them vote for Trish. It's 3-1. Trish goes home, right? The other scenario is Tony doesn't play his idol. Now you can't vote for. Now Trish, Tony, and Tasha don't vote. The only people that vote are Spencer, Wu, and Cass, and they vote Tony out.
Okay.
This makes a lot more sense when I thought the tiebreaker was making fire.
That's only at a final 4 tie.
Okay.
Yes.
I was going to say, there's a chance that Tasha still goes home, so I was surprised she agreed to it.
Mm-hmm.
But now it makes sense to me.
Yep. If everybody holds fast, then there wouldn't actually be a chance that she goes home on the revote.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I just didn't fully understand what their plan was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that didn't make a lot of sense to me. But that makes sense.
I gotcha. Yeah, the tie vote rules are kind of complex.
Well, and especially since we've never actually seen it.
And there's idols and 3-way ties.
I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, I guess you're right. We haven't seen a tie, huh?
Yeah, I guess I kept thinking that Tony wouldn't play an idol except his hidden idol.
Yeah,
but if it's a 3-way tie, then he's not going to play that idol, which means he wouldn't have played an idol at all. So maybe after the tiebreaker, he plays an idol then.
So you can only play the regular idol before the initial vote. So if it was a 3-way tie and Tony didn't play his idol, then he wouldn't have a chance to play it before the revote. But he would have his special idol still as like a fallback. If he, there was no way that he was actually going home as long as he had the super idol, because you can just whip that out at any point when you're going home.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah, if you're Tony,
there's a lot less convoluted than I thought it was.
I gotcha. Yeah, if there's Tony, there's zero reason for you to play your actual hidden immunity idol before you burn your super idol.
Right.
Because you could guess wrong on your hidden immunity idol. There's no chance you guess wrong on your super idol. It's like,
right.
You're going home and now you're not. Which is still just a wild thing. I can't believe they put it in the game.
Yeah, well, and the thing about this is Tony really, I mean, he can only use it through the next tribal.
Right. Final 5 is the last time idols can be used.
It makes sense.
Top 5, baby. Top 5, baby. Top 5, baby.
It makes sense not to play your idol, but at the same time, I feel like I got 2 idols to burn. There are 2 idols left. Let's throw it out there, you know?
Yeah. Yep. If he's just playing the numbers, that makes sense. But as we will see next episode, he maybe has another plan in store for his 2 idols.
2 idols.
2 idols. 1, 2. All right, let's be woke about this reward challenge real fast in 2019, shall we?
Okay.
How is this Survivor Ambassador trip actually bad?
White savior complex?
Yes, there it is. We found it. Bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, I felt a little uncomfortable.
My favorite part is when they gave all the poor kids school supplies and then went off and ate hamburgers by themselves.
Yeah. I really thought I really thought they were going to share that meal. And Adam and I were like, not really arguing, but arguing about it. Like, because he's like, oh, they're just going to go off. And I was like, no, they're going to share the meal. And they certainly did not.
I made some joke about like the kids are going to get the school supplies. And we're like, that's great. Can we have that burger though? And then Emily was like, there's no way that they don't share the food.
And they didn't.
So I feel super guilty because while watching it, I did not think about any of this, but it makes so much sense. Yeah. So maybe that's my own privilege showing, I guess.
I also love the shots of like, Spencer's in the back of the truck, tosses a backpack out, and then like 7 kids fight over it.
Yeah, I didn't love that.
Yeah. I mean, in reality, you've got to trust Survivor, right? They're like actually giving a backpack full of school supplies to each individual kid. It's not just like a gimme free-for-all thing. And they are well-fed kids. But yeah, it didn't look great.
It does not look good.
All right, just wanted to be woke about that. I knew that we would have some takes.
Appreciate it.
This was 2013, though. I feel like we should have been better at this point.
Yeah.
Survivor continues to surprise us.
Yeah, it's sometimes a slow burn.
Going to be a misogynist in the last episode of this?
Oh, it's a good question. Yeah, who are we going to like absolutely be disgusted by in the finale?
It's going to be so.
Spencer already said something. So
he did say something about like
he said something
typical
about, like,
women or when Cass was like waffling,
like letting her emotions get the best.
Oh yeah, that was it.
So
it's gonna be devastating when Wu says something misogynistic.
Oh gosh, if he does.
I don't think he has it in him. You know what'll happen?
They're the best. We know it. They're the best.
If Wu says something misogynist, this will be my reaction.
I probably pooped on myself.
Right there in Scott's living room.
Yeah.
Yep.
We talked about this already, but just want to reiterate the complete dichotomy between how cool, natural, and fun Wu was and how awkward, rigid, and dorky Spencer was on this challenge or this reward. Really
like
fun to watch. Who's who?
I'm Wu.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Spencer 100.
It's happening right now.
I didn't actually mean to click on that, but it worked out okay.
Kids are fun, man. Like just
because you are a kid.
You just have fun.
Stare at me. They just stare at me.
Because they're waiting for you to do something.
And I don't know what they want.
Juggle. Just juggle.
Just juggle. Play a little soccer with him. Yeah. Nothing.
Toss him some school stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fight to the death.
No.
I didn't know they made such an animal.
Just hit him with that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Spence and Cass dynamic too. This is a relationship at this point in the game that is so fun for me. How they're like so different yet very similar. They're like frenemies. They hate each other yet they love each other and rely on each other. There were some moments at this reward and shortly afterwards where Cass and Spencer are talking, and it's like reminded me of their entire journey together, where they've been on the same tribe forever, have been like working with or against each other very closely the whole time. It's been back and forth. Been a real fun relationship.
Yeah, they need each other. I don't know. It's Cass has been a part of the majority alliance, but also not really a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she's almost as much an outsider to that alliance as Spencer is. And Spencer's just kind of waiting for her to come around and be like, yeah, you're not a part of the majority here. We need you to, shape up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just they're kind of like back and forths, like they're bickering, yet they're still working together is fun for me.
Yeah, I agree. They're a fun duo.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then we move to the immunity challenge after Wu finally says that he is in with Cass and Spencer after, just considering it for quite some time. We move on to the counting challenge. This, of course, there's just a bunch of things they have to count, and then they have to run back and put the right number in, and if you got them all right, then you win.
You had to smash a tile first.
You did have to smash a tile.
There was another step.
Yes, pulling the thing out and hitting something with it.
A very underrated part of any Survivor challenge.
Yeah.
That was the brawn part.
You know what? No, if they didn't have that, then how would you determine a tiebreaker?
Yeah, that's it. It's just got to be like the visceral.
You
do
know
this
that
and
you won
win.
because you broke the tile first.
Yeah.
Hulk smash.
Hulk smash.
Similar to the Olympics, there should be like a normal person so we understand what they've gone through over the last 30 days. Like, this is so easy if you've been eating 3 courses a day with like full nutrition meals.
I'm not sure, though. Like, some of those things looked really hard to count, like the sticks.
I don't think it would have taken 25 minutes for any of us to figure this out.
How would you go about this if you were on the show in this challenge? Would you go try and count all 6, run back, or would you do one at a time, run back one at a time, or somewhere in the middle?
I do one at a time.
That's kind of what I was thinking too.
There's no way I'm going to be able to hold all of them in my head at the same time, or if there are easier things to count or keep hold of. Like the rocks are probably pretty easy to count. The buoys are probably pretty easy to count. You probably keep those in your head at the same time. Crabs are probably harder. The bamboo is probably harder. Like things like that. One at a time. Just get it right.
The crabs you got to account for. Maybe you counted one Mr. Crab once, and then Mr. Crab moves from one side of the tank to the other, and you accidentally count that same Mr. Crab twice.
Exactly.
Therefore, messing up your number total.
Exactly.
You need Mr. Crab to stay still.
I just think that this challenge would be a lot easier with the hindsight that we have, because I bet starting off they were just trying to memorize as many numbers as they could, and then they had to run back, and the numbers were high and they were similar. And I think if you just started off slow, knowing it would take forever, I bet they would have done better in the challenge. It's just my guess.
Slow and steady, tortoise in the hare ish. Want to talk about the way that Tony totally read Wu like a book when they got back from this challenge, where Wu lied to him and could completely sense that things were not correct with him and with the rest of his alliance. Tony is a great read, it definitely seems like.
Well, and that was the funny thing about that was who was it? Trish was like, if he says that they didn't talk about anything, then you know he's lying.
Yeah.
And so you're sitting there like, oh, Woo, please just say something. And then he came back and he said something, and you're like, all right, way to go, Woo, way to play that. And then, Tony does read him very well, but he's also a cop. It's not surprising.
But also, like, what he said was like completely idiotic.
Yeah, it was stupid.
It was like, what was it? Like, Spencer wants to take out Tasha or something. Like,
yeah.
Like, that's so unbelievable.
Yeah, he made up some really bad lies.
Yeah, Tony was like, why would he do that? He's like, man, I don't know. I don't know why he would do that.
Nobody does. Yes, that was my big complaint with it. Was like, at least pick, like, I don't know, Spencer wants to take out Trish or something. Like, something more believable than that.
Dude, I think what you do if you're Woo, because you've got to suspect that everybody knows, like, okay, they are going to talk to Woo about switching. And, like, even if you're not sure if Cass is on the other side or not, you just say, like, yeah, man, Spencer just tried to talk us into voting with him to vote you out because he says there's no way we can beat him. And I just, like, nodded my head, said, yeah, sure, whatever, but I'm not going to do that. I'm with you guys. That's probably the way to play it, right?
Yeah, honestly, like, Woo wouldn't need to lie about anything. Like,
except for his intent.
Except for his intent. He didn't need to lie about anything. He could have said, yeah, Spencer and Cass both talked about it. And honestly, it's good for him to throw Cass under the bus.
Probably,
like that.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah, you can't trust her. Like, she's trying to stab you.
In the back.
Yes.
Exactly.
With a knife.
In the kitchen.
With Professor Plum. Gonna stab you just like Euron Greyjoy did to Jaime Lannister last night. Am I right?
Totally watch that.
Yeah.
I totally don't know what you're talking about.
By the time that this hits air, Game of Thrones will be done and well done. So this is a outdated reference.
Who is Daenerys?
Daenerys Targaryen, the Unburnt, the Mother of Dragons, Queen of the Andals and the First Men, rightful heir to the throne of and the Seven Kingdoms. She broke bad last night, guys.
The writers don't even care about this show anymore. Why do you?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm losing care.
All of her character development for nothing.
For nothing.
Well, okay, here. Oh God, this is gonna send me on a tangent. I know. Here's my I'll let this go on record. Here's my one take about Game of Thrones season 8 is that there in the last season 2, I'll throw 7 and 8 together. There have been lots of really great moments and lots of great, like, satisfying ends to characters' arcs. And there's been lots of, like, moments in writing and plot things that have felt like unsatisfying. But I think the reason why is that they had made the choice to end this show so abruptly that they've done a fine job. They just sped the pace of this up so fast that is really hard for anything to feel as satisfying as it could be, because there's such a long build up to it. And then they just, like, what took 2 seasons and 2, like, abridged seasons. If the same stuff happened more drawn out over the course of, like, 3 or 4 normal length seasons, it would have been good and felt fine. But because it's so fast, it's just hard. There's my official stance on the conclusion of Game of Thrones, having not seen the finale yet, which as of the time of this recording is next weekend, and I will revise my take at that time if necessary. Thank you for coming to my TED
as we
Talk.
go through all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones next.
It's going to be a much anticipated months old.
Yeah, seriously.
Finale.
On Out Thrones.
Out burn, out sex, out dragon.
There we go.
Can the 4 of us start a Game of Thrones podcast where everyone watches a completely different show and Alex tries to get us to talk about Game of Thrones?
Dog, so I watched season 1 of Weeds this week. Let me tell you.
It's a pretty good show.
Oh, man. Okay, just a couple more notes here. It's been a long road for the Brains tribe, but there was something, it didn't happen, but for that moment there after the reward, when it seemed like everyone was on the same page, there was this really like beautiful moment of it's like, wow, the Brains are all back together. They had some wandering. It took a lot, but like Tosh, Cass, and Spencer on the same page. There are 3 of the 6 people left. They can put their eggs in the same basket. And after all they've gone through, like kind of run stuff. But then it all fell apart.
Yeah, that's kind of disappointing because that would be such a underdog story.
Yeah.
It really would be like poetic justice. Like,
I mean, the 3 Brains that were there at the merger made it to the final 6.
Wild, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
it's because Spencer and Tosh like went from brain to like full on brawn and like killed all the challenges.
Yeah,
That's true.
Truly. Has anybody other than Tasha and Spencer won an immunity challenge?
Woo won one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They've killed it in the challenges. Spencer and Tosh have survived despite being like large threats in the minority group.
They've done a good job of like sowing chaos, like causing chaos, like as we saw last episode too. So it's not just because they won challenges. Like,
right.
They've done a good job of...
The number of times that Spencer, Tasha, and Cass nearly like flipped the game on its head is insane.
Nearly.
They just never actually did it.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get the people on their side.
Yeah. And Cass, in turn, saw the sinking ship and jumped off it at the right time and has survived by cuddling up by the power people.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. She probably wouldn't be here if she hadn't done that.
Yeah, almost definitely not.
Like there's a chance you would have been voted out before. No, you get rid of Tasha the first chance you get.
Mm-hmm.
Or Spencer. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
There's a chance that she's there, but only because she's less of a challenge in the, whatever. The what are they called? Immunity challenges. Yeah.
Goodness.
I think too, because she and Tony obviously do not get along. She and Trish obviously do not get along. If she wasn't like a number that they counted on, you could totally see a scenario where they're just like, dude, screw Cass, get her out of here.
Yeah, for sure.
You gotta wonder though, like if the brains were together the whole time, like I bet like Trish would have been like, there's a chance of like Trish and some of the lower level people of that alliance would have probably been gone sooner too.
Mm-hmm.
So
and there's a chance that the brains, if they are a powerful tight three, become a larger threat in people's radars too and get voted out earlier.
This is what I want to see. I want to see Survivor Cagayan again with the exact same people.
Interesting.
Maybe
we can lose. We could lose David Sampson. Can lose Jeremiah.
No, Jeremiah is instrumental.
No, he's not.
Arn's a major man.
I just go back to last episode, dude. Jeff were like, hey, Jeremiah, I know what we talked about, but I'm not going to be voting with y'all anymore. He's like, okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool.
I want to know how Jeffra plays this game differently, like knowing what she knows. And
yeah, I'd like to see Jeffra again. I just don't think Jeremiah has any upside.
I was just so curious. I don't know. It would never happen because it's a horrible idea, but I would watch it. I would watch.
It's actually a really interesting idea.
A complete redoing of a season.
Yeah.
What they should do, have they ever done this where they take like the most incompetent people and put them on an island together?
Like a Survivor season made up of only people who got voted out first.
Yeah.
Like put the Jeremiahs of the world, or like Dara, put
just,
like those
just
people
who are bad at playing the game.
Yeah, that'd be so compelling to watch.
And just see them, just whoever the biggest loser wins.
It's like 40 days in and they formed a society because they just don't know how to like get each other out.
Jeff's like, guys, we've been waiting on you at tribal council for days. You have to come here. We
built a train over there and we have a bank over there now.
We're not playing Survivor anymore.
They're still holding a public forum to try to decide. They started their own new republic.
Yeah, that would be something. Last thing we'll talk about here, the big reason we're given as to why the plan doesn't come together is that Cass, as we've said, decides she thinks she can beat Tony at a final tribal. Adam and Emily, what do you think about that idea? Do you agree with Cass's take that Tony is beatable at the end, or do you think she's dumb for thinking that, and that Tony would wipe the floor with her and anyone else?
We actually talked about this last night after whenever we watched it, after we watched the episode.
Pillow talk.
Anyway, because it feels like Tony has definitely been the better player just because he's had more power in the game, and he's worked to be a little bit recklessly strategic too. I just think I would wonder if people would see the merit of how well he played the game against Cass, but at the same time, would they hold their grudges against him enough to make sure that he doesn't win? That's just something I'm not sure. Like, even as this game progresses, if Tony gets to the final, no matter who he's with, I don't know how the jury will react, because I think he made some people really mad, but
yeah,
being this far away from the game now, I don't know if they'll still hold that grudge or just see his gameplay.
I think you got to think about, so do you know how many people are on the jury who are going to be on the jury?
I can tell you how many are on the jury now and how many people are left in the game, and you can use math from there to figure out what you think. But to your point, Emily, like, you definitely look at the people on the jury, and there's a non-zero amount of them that were like just blatantly stabbed in the back by Tony. You think about Sarah and Jeffra and LJ are the first three that come to mind. People that, you know, trusted Tony and banked on him coming through for him, and he instead, you know, turns around and slits their throat. Currently on the jury, we've got Sarah, Morgan, LJ, Jeremiah, Jeffra, and Tasha. And still in the game are 5 left. So 6 on the jury, 5 in the game.
8 on the jury?
At a final 3, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So 8 in a final. But I mean, think like only 3 people have been stabbed in the back so far.
And then you've got Morgan, Jeremiah, and Tasha.
And I think those are people who Morgan, Jeremiah, and Tasha. I don't know. I think there's definitely an argument that the people that Tony took out via like blindside, they have a hard time getting over that and seeing him strategically.
I don't think Sarah will vote for him no matter what.
But that's only 3 people.
She's really particular.
I think you're right in that a non-zero amount of people were completely blindsided and lied to by him. But I'm going to say a majority of the people on that jury tried to do something to overturn his rule and just couldn't do it for some reason, and will recognize that as good play.
Yeah, it'll probably also come down to who, if Tony does make it to the end, who that's in the game now ends up on the jury and who he ends up sitting with at the end, of course.
Yeah, I think who he sits with, too. I think he has really strong, competition no matter who of these 5 people wind up there.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer he's played the entire game from the bottom, and he is here. Wu, we make fun of, Survivor has sort of made fun of him as a non-strategically thinking player, but I think he's still here. Like, he's still done really well. He's won a challenge. He's just good at what he does.
And the most likable guy.
Oh, for sure. And his social game has to be off the charts. Who else do we love? Cass, I think, has been a little reckless, but I think she can make an argument that she made moves and she stayed in the game.
She's a lawyer. You think she'd probably be good at a final tribal.
Yep.
Trish is, we've talked about it. Like, she needs to be able to articulate what she has done to help Tony's position. which if she can do that, I think she has a really valid shot at $1 million if people are looking for someone other than Tony to vote for. Mm-hmm. And then you have Tony, who has been running this game for, 8 episodes. It's, I don't know. Like, there's some really strong competition.
So do you think bottom line Cass has a point and a justified reasoning here, or was it a bad thinking process?
I think that if you can take out the guy who's been running the game, that's a big argument on your behalf.
True.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's more important than sitting next to the jerk. Unless you're also considered a jerk and you need a bigger jerk to make you look better.
Yeah. Apologize for some Survivor references, some meta Survivor references this episode that you probably didn't get. She's saying, I think he's the Russell Hantz of this season, who, without going into detail of the way his game concluded, is just a notable Survivor villain. Probably the biggest Survivor villain of all time.
Was he one of those Hanson brothers?
Hantz?
Or did you say Hantz?
Hantz, Russell Hantz.
I thought you said Hanson.
Oh, no.
So upset now.
Yeah, it was a good try, though. Stop it before we get copyright. We're going to owe the Hanson brothers millions of dollars.
That's all they have, Alex.
is people going mbop on their podcasts. All right, well, let's go ahead and check out our fantasy update, and then we'll conclude by giving the MVPs of the episode. In this episode, another whopper for Adam's Earlobes Tribe. Go figure here. Huge night for Spencer, who won both challenges. A couple points from Wu and a point from Tasha. Emily, your tribe got 1.5 from Cass for winning the reward and surviving, and 0.5 point from Trish for surviving.
Yeah.
And Scott, you got 1 point from Tony for voting correctly and surviving.
Hey.
So, score update after this episode. In third place, Scott's RN Jesus Tribe at 34. In second place with 35.5 is Dara's second win, Emily's squad, and pacing the group now, leading by 23 points. A score of 58.5 is the Earlobe Tribe. Yeah, this is quite a romp. No other way to put it. But there is still time left, although time is running short, and so are the people on your tribe to make pushes. Before we conclude, let's wrap things up by awarding our Survivor MVP of the episode. Scott, why don't you go first? Who's your big winner?
My big winner is Spencer, because we talked about, he really did well in both challenges and kind of avoided being voted out despite being on the low amount of the numbers. So go Spencer.
Did have immunity, which makes getting voted out hard, but
he earned that immunity.
Sure did.
That's right. The immunity kept him from getting voted out. So because he counted real good.
Yeah, he did.
He's a good counter.
Go counting.
Adam, who's your MVP today?
I think I'm going to throw it up to Wu. Because he entertained those kids so good. Honestly, like, this episode is really hard to award an MVP to. Like, I feel like the last 4 or 5 episodes it's been so easy. This one, it's Spencer's a good option, but Wu for entertaining those kids.
Emily?
Yeah, that was my answer. Shut up. I actually thought about this since we watched the episode. Because he went on that stage and entertained the kids, and he did a backflip. And I honestly thought, Woo, be careful. It's been 30 some days of you being frail and starving on an island, but he did it. He landed it. And he was great.
He sure did.
Yeah.
I'll give it to Tony today. He, even though perhaps it wasn't because of loyalty, he kept his ducks in a row, avoided being voted for, even though it was heavily considered. and lives another day without burning any of his idols. All right, that'll do it today from Outwatch, the Survivor Rewatch podcast. Thank you for listening, and be sure to subscribe as we wind down. There's only 2 episodes left in this season of Outwatch. Our episode 12 coverage, and then our live finale show, which you won't want to miss either. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Subscribe. And if that doesn't convince you, nothing will. We'll see you.
Rate, comment below.
Subscribe to the Survivor. Stay for the Game of Thrones commentary.
Heck yes. And until next time on Outwatch, Dracarys. That was another Game of Thrones crossover. Thanks. See you later. That was bad.